Do you ever feel like a plastic bag drifting through the wind?
Wanting to start again?
Yeah. I kind of want to start this week again, frankly. Give it the old restart and try again, because holy hell, has scheduling this podcast been a nightmare on I would say largely my scheduling problem.
Both ends.
It's been a little bit of both. Normally we record these on like Tuesday, Thursday, release it around that, and then free feeds on the following Monday. This is Sunday, the day before it goes to free feeds. Yeah. So sorry to the Patreon, Brandon. Apologies. It's on me. Full responsibility. Forgive us, O Father, for these our sins, that we are about to something, the Pope is dead. Right?
All right.
That's how that goes.
Yeah.
It is what it is. All right. Before we get into the fucking massive amount of news we have to cover, fucking earnings call, the commander unbans, and the changes to the game changers list, the commander bracket beta, and that's not even to mention the secret lair announcement. That is one of the worst secret lairs, I think, that we've seen in a long time. And they're going to make a regular non-Universes Beyond Spider-Man anyway. They're just going to deny it to all the paper people. But we'll get into that. That. Wyatt, I want to know, what the hell is this convention that you and your family went to? And how is it not traumatizing to the youths that you brought with you?
The convention was I believe it was called the Full Moon Horror and Tattoo Convention. It was in Nashville. So for the listeners that might have went, you possibly could have seen me or my wife or my children. And I think that Sydney, our daughter, she just was happy to be there and see other people. There weren't too many people in costume the second day. The first day, no one really was, and the second day, only a few people were. So it wasn't super traumatizing for her. She was just happy to be out and seeing everyone, and she's just a delight in general. And my son has not watched any of the movies that people dressed up from, but there is stuff from those movies all over our house. Yeah. There's posters, there's Funko Pops, there's mask, and he knows his mom wears shirts with that stuff all the time. So, I mean, it's not that he's been exposed to it, but he's seen it so much every day that he just knows about the people without the scary aspect. It was actually hilarious because we got to meet Art the Clown in costume and everything, and we got to get a picture with him. That wasn't the coolest part. Is there was another person dressed up as Art the Clown, but from Terrifier 3, for those of you that know, in his Santa outfit, complete with gore and everything, and my son was just super excited to get a picture with him, and it's probably one of my favorite pictures of him now, because he's literally doing that, tongue out and everything, standing with a bloody Art the Clown.
What did that person dressed as a gory, bloody Art the Clown think of this toddler? Well, not quite toddler.
Well, he was in character, and Art the Clown does not talk. So he was just very animated, and Jude seemed like he was having a blast with it, and the person did not seem to mind at all. In fact, I think he thought it was pretty cool. And then, of course, my son also got pictures with every single ghost face that he saw.
Of course.
Thought that was very cool.
As you do.
As you do. So it was really cool. It was a really cool convention to go through. There was lots of stuff, lots of tattoos being done. But when you have two kids, you can't really be like, all right, I'm going to go kill an hour and a half and get a tattoo. So
I mean, you can get the kids tattoos.
You probably could. But you got to worry about stretching. And, how's it going to look when they grow up?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, yeah.
We wanted to scar them mentally, not so much physically,
Yeah. I feel like your daughter wouldn't take too kindly to sitting still enough to participate in that. Though you could just get your last name tattooed across their shoulder blades in the back, like a football jersey, you know?
I thought about that. I also thought about getting like "If Lost, Return To," that way people know who they belong to.
Yeah, that's the most efficient way to do that for sure.
Right.
Is getting it tattooed onto them for sure.
I could get them chipped, but I just feel like that's too much work.
Yeah, I know. It's like $50. Like
Yeah.
No, just permanently alter their skin entirely.
Yeah.
That's it's fine.
That's the way to go.
So what I'm hearing is you're willing and able to afford to bring your family to a horror convention, but Gen Con
Okay.
can't be bothered.
It's not that I can't be bothered. I would love to do Gen Con. Unfortunately, conventions are also expensive. So I do plan on attending more, but there also has to be like an aspect of it that my wife can get some enjoyment out of as well. For us horror movies, we both like horror movies. We both like the people that were there that we wanted to go see, because there was a lot of people from Terrifier, which has quickly become one of my wife's favorite horror movies, and I'm fond of it as well, just for the fact that it's like it started as such a homegrown thing that it turned into such a phenomenon is crazy. There's people there from Supernatural. Kane Hodder was there, who's played Jason in almost all the Friday the 13th movies. Dick Warlock. Bunch of people.
Nice. All right. So we got to get your wife addicted to either Magic, other card games, Lorcana, Star Wars
Look,
Unlimited.
man, I've been barking up that tree for a hot minute. I know she would kill it. I know.
Now.
Like, my wife is so smart. I know for a fact that if I got her into Magic the Gathering in some kind of way, she would instantly just start
winning
destroying
CEDH
people at
tournaments.
it. Yeah. Easily.
Start winning like the 5Ks and 10Ks and stuff. And
I
all these
just feel
tournaments.
like her willingness to try, like, Phase 10 and Uno, like her card gameness there, and her competitive nature, I feel would just instantly, like, if she just got into Magic the Gathering, it would just take off. She'd be running CDH tables in no time.
So we've got to get her hooked on like a more normie game, but one that is like indie enough to appear at Gen Con, because it is a board gaming convention ultimately.
Yeah,
that just happens to have.
I was checking it out because I was like, there are horror board games, and that's
that's a
there
good
you go. You're
crossover.
starting to kind of get a little crossover.
There's a
little
lot of fun.
mingling.
There's a lot of fun like party games and like group games that you can like fairly cheaply get into. Red Dragon Inn is one of my personal favorites. It's very easy to explain to new people, get them invested in it, and then it's like, oh, if we go to Gen Con, you can get like they have the Gen Con exclusive packs where you can add a couple cards to the Red Dragon Inn deck. If you go to their booth, you can go to these other booths, get cool things. Do we like shiny dice? You can get all of the fancy shiny dice imaginable.
Well, who doesn't like shiny dice?
Exactly. There's kids' play areas as well. There's rooms off to the side where they have specific activities for children that you can partake in. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Hey,
I'm
maybe
just saying.
this is something I pitch for next year.
Get the wife on the phone right now. We got it. We can hash this out immediately on the podcast in front of everyone.
Right, exactly. Make it a
All right,
great
well,
podcast. But before we get too far into the podcast, who are you, Connor?
Oh my goodness, we haven't. Way to get the golf swing going, because you teed me up on that one.
Yeah, there you go.
This is not as much as Wyatt might like it to be. This is not a horror movie and horror convention podcast. This is, of course, a Magic the Gathering podcast, the Duels and Mana Dorks podcast, episode number 91 of the Duels and Mana Dorks podcast. It hasn't been always been called that, but we've been going for a while. We've been going for many years at this point.
Small rebrand.
I am, of course, your host today, Connor of the Dungeon Bros, and I am joined by Wyatt, a.k.a. the Typical Gemini on YouTube and TikTok and all of the other various platforms. I don't have a shtick to do I haven't figured out what the opening shtick is with you, Wyatt. Sam and I had a whole thing, and then he's like, "Ooh, I'm gonna go hiking for 6 months," and it's like, okay, well, I got to figure something out now, and I've lost all my bits. I've lost all the go-to bits here.
We got to
Changes
figure
it.
something out. Our thing needs to be more Magic the Gathering-y, I feel. Y'all's is very much dungeon-based.
Yeah.
Ours will be the other one.
Well, we of course got into a little bit of lore for those that are excusez-moi. A little bit of lore for those that are not as familiar with us in the podcast. We of course were absolutely obsessed with D&D in the COVID era of life, and we wanted to start talking about D&D. We had a lot to say, had a lot we wanted to discuss. It was when the original 5th edition was starting to like crescendo up and do like its final throes before they started announcing the revised 5th edition and getting into the 1D&D and all of that kind of stuff. There was a lot to talk about. And then as time went on, they started making a lot of really dumb decisions and a lot of very public mistakes. And then a lot of our friends stopped wanting to play D&D as much. And so we stopped playing D&D as much, which we felt like we had less and less and less to say as time went on. And we just so happened to find ourselves stumbling into the world of Magic the Gathering at Gen Con a couple of years ago. And started wanting to discuss that. So we kind of shifted the focus of the Duels and Mana Dorks podcast to Magic the Gathering.
Yeah, stumbled into Magic the Gathering like I didn't strong arm y'all.
Listen, we brought you on as a guest in the precursor to Bonus Action, a Duels and Mana Dorks supplement podcast. We brought you on and we were talking a little bit about D&D. We knew you from TikTok, being TikTokers ourselves.
Yes.
And we were talking a little bit about D&D. I talked to you quite a bit about Magic the Gathering. I had some experience with Magic in college.
Theros, shout out.
It's a great set, great block. Big fan. I just ordered one of the cards from the Theros block. I think it was Journey to Nyx. It's the one that doesn't let you draw more than one card a turn. It was a nice little stacksy piece. Putting that in my mono white control deck that I've been copying the vibe off of from the Trinket Mage on YouTube for his mono white Heliod deck. But that's neither here nor there. We changed the name of the podcast to the Duels and Mana Dorks podcast, kind of a D&D, a Magic like referencey thing. But now we kind of just talk about Magic because it's what we like and that's what we got time for. Farewell to the child. Oh, maybe not farewell to the child.
No, she's coming back. She's chilling.
Okay, she's chilling. The cat right now is being a menace, so both of our children are making their presences known. But that's enough of the lore. Let's get into
little behind the scenes look.
A little bit of backstory. The Wikipedia article, if you will.
Yeah.
Now, getting into the stories we have today. Before we get into the stories we have today, because again, we got to talk about the financials. We now have a new best-selling Magic the Gathering set of all time, and it's not even out yet, which is ludicrous. Commander Unbans and Bannings. Actually, no, it was just Unbannings. There were no bans.
Yeah.
Updates to the Commander brackets. This time. Lots to talk about. But if you like the podcast, this might be a little early for the call to action, but I'll do it anyway. If you like the podcast, you can go over to patreon.com/dungeonbros. If you throw us $5 a month, you can get the podcast early and ad-free. This week, it's going to be like 12 hours early. Yeah. Normally, it's several days early, and then we post to the free feeds on every other Monday. It is once every 2 weeks. We're not a weekly podcast. There's probably plenty to talk about weekly, but, Wyatt's a father with a full-time job and 2 young children, and I am not a father, but I have a full-time job and a part-time job, which takes up a lot of fucking time. So,
Imagine that.
We do what we gotta do. I think
it's good. It's cathartic. It lets Magic really get some build-up of multiple things of news.
It's true. We get to load everything instead of, and it gives. I think this is one thing that people. I've talked about this kind of thing a lot, and I'm getting derailed again, but. The incessance on I've got to have an opinion immediately about something. I got to let the world know what I think immediately. It's like if I did a video every time I had a knee jerk feeling about a brand new announcement, if I made a short every single time, my feelings would change on it almost immediately after posting said content. And I wouldn't be surprised if there were a lot of content creators that felt the same way when they're making stuff like immediately. So I kind of like that we get to marinate a little bit, analyze, think about it, and then give like some in-depth thought and discussion too.
I feel like it's one of those things, as Ricky Bobby would say, if you're not first, you're last. And so people try to be the first one to bring this hot new opinion, this steaming hot tea to the conversation.
His
instead
dad
of just sitting with it for a minute.
His dad was drunk and high when he said that. Like, you can come in second, third, fourth. Hell, you can even come in fifth. You know, and that's okay. That's okay. All right. What's not okay is actually, it is, I mean, depending on your point of view, I guess it's okay. The financials. We have our Q1 financials for Hasbro, and through it, we've learned quite a bit from Wizards of the Coast. Thank you to CEO Christopher Penis, is his name. His name's Chris Cox, but we call him Christopher Penis. It's a fun bit. So in the Q1's earnings call, Chris Cox noted that Q2 is going to be, quote, quote, pretty darn well, end quote, thanks to the upcoming Final Fantasy and Magic the Gathering Universes Beyond. He also corrected himself when saying Final Fantasy would be the best-selling Magic set of all time, saying, quote, it already is, in reference to pre-order numbers and sales already occurring for the set that is not going to be coming out for over a month on June 13th. WotC and the digital gaming segment continued to be the leader for Hasbro, growing 46% with growth across Magic Tabletop and digital licensing. Magic revenue increased 45% in Tabletop and Arena, driven by healthy demand for recent releases. Thank you, Tarkir Dragonstorm, and the pre-releases for the Final Fantasy set.
You know, that's so weird that
Who could have
like
expected?
Universes Within is doing so good when they're banking so hard on Universes Beyond. It's just, it's puzzling to me. Maybe if we got some numbers about, say, Bloomburrow and Dragons of Tarkir, more specifically, just a feeling.
Yeah, that's the thing. They don't really release big sales numbers for specific sets, which is very frustrating. They put it all into Wizards Tabletop and Wizards Digital.
Yeah.
And that's kind of all we get, which
they
is
don't
frustrating.
want to give us the deep information.
We do get some statistics, though, for Magic the Gathering. The average tabletop player is about 30 years old, which, being a 30-year-old, makes sense to me.
Yeah.
The average player tenure is 5 or more years, meaning the average player has been playing for 5 or more years, which could be concerning. Now, as these statistics continue to get updated, assuming they do, if that number continues to increase, then I think we have a bit of a growth problem. But that's just reading into the cat. Why are you going crazy when I start the recording? Why do you do this every time? I know it's a stuffed pickle and it's very fun, but I need you to calm your feline titties a little bit, all right?
He turns himself into a pickle. It's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Anyway, there are over 7,500 stores in the Wizards Play Network, and Play event ticket sales are up so far 16% versus 2023 for Magic the Gathering. So more people are going to live events. Magic the Gathering is first crossed the $1 billion in annual revenue in 2022. Total fiscal year 2024 Magic revenue was $1.08 billion. And yeah, we're in a good spot for Magic in terms of revenue.
Yeah.
Now, what might be the cause of said spike in revenue, I would argue, has a lot to do with premium sets.
I would agree.
We've been getting more and more premium sets as time has gone on. Universes Beyond is, of course, priced at premium set prices. In 2024, the premium set that we got was Modern Horizons 3. It was really the only premium set that we got. The rest of them were regular releases with Foundations at the end of the year. Foundations, I would argue, being one of the best values.
Of course.
Priced at a normal set. Now, for 2025, on the other hand, we are now in the realm of half of all sets being Universes Beyond, as has been talked about for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy, Spider-Man, and Avatar: The Last Airbender will all presumably if the pricing that we have so far for Final Fantasy is to be believed, be at Universes Beyond premium pricing. So I imagine their annual revenue for 2025 is going to greatly eclipse what they saw in 2022, 2023, and 2024. What do you make of the growth, the massive growth? I mean, 46% growth because of Magic in just the first 3 months of the year is staggering compared to what we saw in the last financial call for Q4 of 2024. What kind of, do you think this is kind of a bad omen? Do you think this is an outlier because of the sale of Final Fantasy?
I don't really think it's an outlier because of Final Fantasy. I think that they knew sets like Tarkir, more specifically, were going to do well. And I think it's kind of a red herring to just attribute that all to Final Fantasy being like, this is our universe beyond, we spent money on this IP, and this is what's actually driving the sales, when really it's probably more your universes within, such as Tarkir, Bloomborough. I know not everyone was super hyped about Aether Drift, but there were some very good cards in it, so people were probably picking that up as well. Just things of that nature that were probably driving sales. I think the growth is like a positive thing that we're seeing because it's literally everywhere. You see it with Arena. Like, I know it's personal to each person, but like, I get bombarded with Arena ads on YouTube. So that's growing. They seem to invest in content creators for the most part. So people are putting out content that, maybe more people are getting eyes on. I mean, if you look at Magic the Gathering TikTok, there's people all over that, that grow that. There's Commander shows of all different kinds, so no matter what, you can kind of find a show or a channel that does Magic the Gathering content that you're gonna at least watch a little bit. So that's probably helping, and you can only watch something for so long before you're like, you know what, I want to try that. I want to do that. That seems fun. And boom, you buy your first deck and you're off to the races.
That's all it takes. It's just that first deck. I do want to reassess one thing you said in terms of the growth on Arena. We have a chart that shows revenue drivers for Wizards of the Coast specifically. Wizards Tabletop, which represented Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons, but we all know the revenue driver at Wizards of the Coast is largely going to be Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
Accounted for 37% of the total Wizards revenue. 1% was attributed to Wizards Digital, which lumped in Magic the Gathering Arena and D&D Beyond. So the Arena growth has actually slowed quite a bit, and especially compared to previous quarterly earnings. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of that was coming from pressure from the Pokemon TCG app as well, and some of the practices that they've been implementing there with Pokemon, which... Yeah. Why in the world, if you're trying to drive traffic to Magic Arena, when you have all of these people buying physical cards in packs, why does every pack not come with a code card to get one pack on Magic Arenas?
That's how it should be.
That's how it should be.
People don't want to spend money twice. Not only that, I think Brawl is doing a disservice. Because, people can hate on it all they want, but one of the most popular formats in Magic the Gathering is Commander. And Brawl is your Commander Light version that is played on Arena. I think they should be focusing more on making that as cool or as pleasant of an experience as possible if you're not going to, do real Commander, which, again, they don't have to, because I know that's importing, like, every single card from ever. But
and making Arena 4 players is just a massive undertaking that client is not even remotely built for.
Right. So probably not the best medium for that.
Mm-hmm. And they've released starter deck products in the past for Magic Arenas that have physical cards, and then you can redeem those as codes to get those deck lists in Magic Arenas and start off strong.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand why you don't necessarily want to do that with like Commander precons, because they make specifically designed for Commander, not standard legal cards in those deck lists.
Right.
But there needs to be some level of more parity between the tabletop and the digital ecosystem, which we'll get into the soon-to-be massive break in parity we're going to be getting starting with Spider-Man here in a little bit. But
what, we're getting more pictures of Spider-Man?
We in fact will not be getting more pictures of Spider-Man. We will
This
be
is
getting
ridiculous.
We're getting more pictures. They won't be of Spider-Man anymore. No, they'll be of
Spider-Man.
vigilante arachnid woman.
Boom.
There you go. Boom. So that's really all we have to say about the financials. Final Fantasy being the best-selling Magic the Gathering product, the best-selling set of all time, over a month before it actually releases, I think is shocking in a lot of ways. And it's indicative of exactly why we're in the situation that we're in right now. Half of all products being Universes Beyond, why wouldn't they be? I don't necessarily blame that Wizards for making that decision.
No.
I don't like it necessarily. I would like more classically Magic sets. And I think a lot of the consternation that we've been having with this change is because when we have been getting in-universe Magic sets, they're Murders at Karlov Manor, Ether Drift, Outlaws of Thunder Junction, the hat sets, even Duskborn,
Yes.
which was fun, but Duskborn was just a hat set. And even in a way, Bloomborough is kind of too. It just felt more like classic Magic, which is why people have been loving Tarkir Dragonstorm.
Exactly.
I can anecdotally say when I did my pre-release event at my local game store, they had to get like a list going and sign people up and started turning people away because they ran out of pre-release kits. They had to, like, they were getting calls to like reserve pre-release kits, and they're like, this is way more than we're getting. We're canceling them all. You can sign up to join us at Friday night pre-release for the store. And that was the first time they've had like a sellout pre-release situation since like Dominaria. And not Dominaria United. Dominaria.
Well, not to be a Magic, I guess, boomer for just a minute, but I got into Magic around Origins, which is the set that came out after Tarkir, the Tarkir block. And I remember going to the pre-release for Origins, and there were quite a few people, but I was talking to the game store owner, and he was like, yeah, this is a pretty good turnout, but for Tarkir it was insane. Like, it really was crazy. It was hard for them to keep product in stock for Tarkir, especially with the reprint of the fetch lands. So I think them revisiting a popular plane that was not Zendikar or Ravnica or Innistrad even, like, I feel they've kind of worn the path through those sets so much that people are kind of like, if they were to announce tomorrow that we're returning to Ravnica or Zendikar or Innistrad, people would be like, okay, like, whatever. You know, a set that people are actually talking up a lot, I've heard a lot of people really excited about, is the return to Lorwyn, of all places.
Well, they had announced a return to Lorwyn this year, and it ended up getting booted to 2026 for Avatar: The Last Airbender and Spider-Man to make room for them.
Right, which also I feel is another problem, because I feel that we're going to have inflated Universes Beyond numbers because they picked really good IPs to roll out this idea. But that also has me thinking, how long can we keep getting consistently good IPs to roll out as Universes Beyond?
So my theory, as long as Universes Beyond... as long as they're releasing Universes Beyond sets of popular IP, like, I think we're going to have a couple of years of Universes Beyond, where we're going to be getting like banger IP that are selling really well.
Oh yeah.
Like Lord of the Rings, Final Fantasy, Marvel, Avatar: The Last Airbender. They're popular IP, and they're going to draw people in. We're going to reach a point where it's not going to be the popular IP anymore. We're going to start getting the weirder things. Like I think if they could get Game of Thrones, that would be a slam dunk. I honestly think they could return to Middle Earth and do
absolutely,
and do a more Hobbit focused set, or like a more Silmarillion, like deep lore cut focused set. There's options that they have, and I think we could see ourselves hitting 2030 or later before we start seeing Universes Beyond sets that aren't like big banger IP successes.
Universes Beyond Invader Zim.
Yeah. Yeah. The grim adventures of Billy and Mandy.
Yeah.
Universes Beyond set. Like we're gonna get some like weird ones along the way, but we're not going to start seeing like consistently poor selling ones until we start getting forced into those more obscure IP. Like I could see them, and I know this would be very contentious because people hate J.K. Rowling, but I could totally see a Harry Potter theme set.
No, you know what? I don't think so. Really? I really don't. I feel that the Magic the Gathering community has been, for the most part, now like don't get me wrong, there are bad apples out there, but I feel for the most part Magic the Gathering is very, very accepting of the trans community. And does listen to their voices, and I feel that would be like an ultimate betrayal almost of like of that, you know. This is getting into a whole other thing. I do understand that like money runs everything.
Money runs everything, and that at the end of the day, look at Hogwarts Legacy, the video game. Like that thing got protested, that thing got lambasted, it got review bombed. There were major video game media outlets that refused to cover that game at all because what's up, buddy?
Thanks, buddy.
That's adorable, by the way. Absolutely adorable.
He is, really is.
But they were like IGN and GameSpot and like people were refusing to cover Hogwarts Legacy, and it was one of the best selling games of that year.
Yep.
Like I think people are either willing to or simply don't associate certain art with the artists, which I think is something that we could all benefit from doing, you know.
Right. I just feel that in particular with J.K. Rowling and by extension her universe that she's created, I just feel that it would truly be a disservice to the fans of Magic the Gathering to have a Harry Potter set. I feel that if they wanted to, they should just continue with Strixhaven. I feel like Strixhaven has been set up much better, in all honesty, than getting to see like a Whomping Willow card or, you know,
a return to Strixhaven I think would be great. But as you said, money rules all, and
money does rule all. And if these Universes Beyond rivers start to run a little dry, I'm sure they will quickly look towards the Harry Potter IP.
Well,
yes,
like you got to think about what kinds of IP could even be these things. I think Game of Thrones is an easy one. I think
that's a layup.
Returning to worlds that have like a lot of rich lore that you could go back to, like Lord of the Rings,
Warhammer
you could go back to. Warhammer wasn't even big enough for them to do a whole set yet, though, and that may have just been them being gun shy with the whole Universes Beyond set specifically.
I think that was I think that was like a testing for them, just to see kind of the interest without doing a whole set, because I could really see them in the future. Like, there's so much lore in Warhammer. There's so many characters they left out. There's Age of Sigmar, which is the like time before 40K, which is also like very lore rich with lots of different characters that people would really enjoy. And I think that for a test run, it went pretty well, and I could see them easily revisiting Warhammer, as it was and probably still is one of the most popular Commander Universes Beyond IP things they've released.
Absolutely. But again, this is all just theory crafting.
Right.
We will,
Meaning
it
to
will
say,
remain
though,
to
they
be
did
seen.
pick a really strong 3 to roll out as standard legal sets, being Final
Yeah.
Fantasy, Spider-Man, and Avatar: The Last Airbender. Those
Yeah.
are some heavy hitter
And-
IPs.
And with the Marvel partnership, I mean, they're gonna have a Marvel set every single year for the next they could do that for almost forever.
Oh yeah, they've got Marvel on lock.
Yeah,
X-Men
that's-
will probably do crazy numbers.
X-Men set, Avengers set.
Yeah.
You could do fucking Illuminati, make it like a darker thing. There's so many subgroups that you could divide these things into. It's ridiculous. All right, moving on. Commander. The Commander bracket beta has received an update along with a banned and restricted announcement for the Commander format. We have had 5 cards unbanned from the Commander ban list. Gifts Ungiven, Sway of the Stars, Braids, Cabal Minion, Coalition Victory, and Panoptic Mirror have been removed from the banned list. Sway of Stars is probably not going to be very fun to play against, nor is Braids. Panoptic Mirror and Gifts Ungiven, I can totally understand being taken off of the list. Gifts Ungiven, very similar to an intuition pile in a lot of ways. And Gifts Ungiven is fun because it gives the opponent an option to create the 2 piles of cards that you're getting. I think allowing opponents to choose things like that makes for fun gameplay in Commander.
Absolutely.
And then Coalition Victory has just been one that's been talked about forever. I mean, if we're going to have 2-card win combos like Thassa's Oracle, Demonic Consultation being totally legal, then an 8-mana sorcery that requires a fair bit of setup and can be easily countered, there's totally no reason for it to have been on the ban list for as long as it was. A lot of these, pretty much all of these cards are older cards that have been on the ban list back when the Commander format was vastly different than it is now.
Oh yeah. Never did I think I would live to see Braids unbanned.
And nowadays, it's like if someone were to make a Braids deck, I would probably be like, I mean, if you're seat 1, turn 1, and you manage to I don't even know how you would manage to turbo
It's not
out
turn
a turn 1.
It's turn 2 because you go turn 1 Swamp Soul Ring, turn 2 other Swamp, cast Braids. Now you're ahead because you have a Soul Ring to sacrifice and lands, and you'll be dropping first. Everyone else who had a turn 1 play where they were like, I'm going to play land pass. Now they're stuck.
But even in that scenario, that's a very specific scenario. You
Yes,
obviously can get Swamp, Soul Ring, Lotus Petal, Dark Ritual to get at it on turn 1, and you know what you're getting into. I think Braids is much more easily dealt with now than it was back when Braids would have been banned. Sway of the Stars is just like a really shitty, not shitty in terms of power level, but just shitty in terms of play pattern board wipe. But if you're going to be spending that much mana on a board wipe, you better do something that's going to be basically ending the game fairly soon, or else you wouldn't even be running it with the mana cost
I don't
that
think
it
anyone
is.
will ever pay full price for a Sway of the Stars. That's going to be something that's cheated out.
Yeah,
If that is your win con.
absolutely. The other part of this is a vast expansion of the Game Changers list. We have had 2 cards removed from the Game Changers list in Trouble in Pairs and Trinisphere, 2 cards that people were kind of dubious in putting on the Game Changers list to begin with, as well as 18 additions to the Game Changers list. What is of important note, the 5 cards that have been unbanned have automatically been placed onto the Game Changers list until such a time they have been deemed not too powerful for the Game Changers list. The 18 cards that have been added include Humility, Teferi's Protection, Consecrated Sphinx, Intuition, Narset Parter of Veils, Necropotence, Orcish Bowmasters, Deflecting Squat, Gamble, Crop Rotation, Food Chain, Natural Order, Seaborn Muse, Worldweed Tutor, Aura Shards, Notion Thief, Field of the Dead, and Mishra's Workshop have all been added to the Game Changers list. A vast expansion and a correction on the big critique that Green got away with murder on the original iterations of the Game Changers list. I think all of these cards are easy, slam dunk, 100% makes sense additions to the Game Changers list, personally.
Oh yeah, easy picks to update the list. Just kind of an oversight. I feel that they didn't get picked up in the first place. If you're gonna make tutors in general, like something powerful, Green really did kind of slip through with almost none of its tutors being touched.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All the 1-mana tutors are now on the list. They gave us a slightly new graphic to show the 5 brackets for the Commander Brackets beta. It is still in beta, and they're still accepting a lot of criticism and changes that can be made. No changes were made specifically to the brackets themselves. What I do want to say, this was before you were a regular member of the podcast, but Sam and I kind of went hard on the Commander Brackets beta system when we started, when it was first announced.
Yeah.
After seeing it used at game stores, getting used to the Game Changers list and how they've chosen to go about it, like, you can nitpick the specifics of what is bracket 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. I think 5 is pretty self-explanatory. Like, you're making a CEDH list if you're playing CEDH.
Right.
I think this system is probably the best system that we could get, honestly. You are...
Oh, absolutely. Like, it was something someone pointed out to me a while back where they were like, if you think about it, in the 1 through 10 set, no one was ever making a 1, a 2, or a 3. It was all like, and it was even rare to see a 4. You know, most people were making 5 and up decks anyway, so why not just crunch it down into a bracket system? I think that that's going to help a lot more people moving forward have that discussion and keep things more in balance. The Game Changers list is a huge, I feel, not a crutch, but like a huge help to kind of determine where your deck probably sits and where it'll sit after you've made cuts and additions.
Yeah.
Especially pulling from the Game Changers list.
And having the Game Changers list as like a soft list of cards that would be banned, like, you're not going to get a surprise card that's not on the Game Changers list getting banned out of Commander, unless it's... We'll get into what the Nadu contingency is here in a little bit. But having that list of cards so that the community is aware of what the powerhouse cards are, what cards would be looked at for bannings if they were to be banned... I'm a big fan, and hearing it at the local game stores and people talking about it, it's made for much more concise and informative pregame conversations than anything we've had before. I think the community has adopted it pretty well, and if they just choose to continue to refine this for the next couple years, I think we're going to have a really, really good system on our hands for handling these conversations.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, I feel it got a lot of shit in the beginning, but it's definitely started to come around on a lot of people that they've gotten to experience it in the wild, like you said, and kind of see that, kind of sit with it, think about it, and be like, you know what, this is correct. This is probably a better direction to move in eliminating some useless numbers on a list. Like, because if you rate movies on a scale of 1 through 10, but you never give a movie below a 4, below a 5 even, why do you have the other numbers?
Yeah,
you know?
I agree. I completely agree. And again, 90+% of decks are going to be bracket 2, 3, or 4. It's as simple as that. So
yeah,
I think having that narrow range is useful. I think having specificity attached to those ranges, and not specificity in like specific cards, but in play patterns and gameplay style, that make it a lot more useful than the vagueness of the various bracket or the various tiers for the 10-point scale.
Oh yeah.
The other important notes for the banned and restricted announcement, Gavin Verhey, who is the writer of these two articles, gave some acknowledgement to the dockside in the room, the Jeweled Lotus, the Mana Crypt in the room, specifically saying they did talk about those cards and are not unbanning them at this time. Opinions from the Commander format panel varied. Some believe Commander is more fun without them. Others would like more time to see how the Commander bracket system is adopted before doing anything here. And others felt it's too soon to do anything with these cards. There were a few people who were open to doing something with Jeweled Lotus now, but that was not the majority opinion. The overwhelming majority of the panel did not want to do anything with any of these cards at this time. I will be transparent and say that I believe if any of these are ever to return, the most likely one is Jeweled Lotus due to its one-shot nature, iconic feel, and ability to help support high mana value commanders. I want to be clear, this is not me saying that will ever happen, but that was the one among the panel with the most traction. End quote on that.
Right.
I think that one makes total sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
We all remember what happened. Our memories are not so short, and they shouldn't be that short. I would personally be totally fine with Jeweled Lotus coming back. I'm frankly totally fine with all three of them coming back because that would make for. I'm totally fine with them coming back. I'm not heartbroken at them not coming back at all.
Right.
And I think their reasoning is completely sound in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were just banned right before the disbanding of the Commander Advisory Board, or whatever they were called at the time. Mm-hmm. And I think it would kind of be almost a slap in the face to them to literally turn around and be like, actually, guys, they were overstepping. These cards are just fine. Now,
and they're not fine.
Yeah.
They were totally within their right to be banning them in the first place.
Yeah, and I think it was actually better for the format and Wizards card design space, specifically, because if you think about it, Dockside opens up a thing where it will only get better. Dockside will never be worse than it is right now. It will only get better. And if Wizards keeps making enchantment decks or artifact decks, then all it does is empower Dockside Extortionists.
Absolutely.
It's basically limiting your design space simply because, that's the nature of the card.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. 100%. 100%. The other important section of the banned and restricted announcement is a note on future bans. They have committed to not doing any more bannings for the rest of the year 2025, with a single exception, which Gavin has dubbed the Nadu contingency, which is if a new or an unbanned card begins to become generally reviled and people just want it gone as soon as possible, they will break the seal and act earlier. However, he is hopeful that they are not going to need to do this, as it would need to be a fairly extreme circumstance. Commander is a format that moves very, very slowly. It evolves over time, and I think a yearly banning that is of a similar time of year that we can all expect. Movements on and off the Game Changers list, I think, could be slightly more frequent if they wanted it to be. And then having that Nadu contingency, which I love the name of, the Nadu. The hot Nadu summer will never not be great. But
the burb was indeed the word.
He was the word. All right.
Yeah.
Absolutely
and,
the word.
Man, the fact that snuck through is kind of crazy. But it is also kind of telling of the fact that Modern Horizons has always brought with it something that needed to be dealt with in some format.
Absolutely. Do you have anything else you'd like to say about the banned and restricted announcements?
Nope. I think that they know what they're doing. The stuff that got unbanned, like I said, the only thing that really was out of line to me was I was not expecting a Braids unban. But, like you said, the format's different now. Maybe it won't be a problem. And with the way that they're kind of looking at the ban and unban list, I feel that we're going to see a lot more unbans than bans.
Absolutely.
And I look forward to that.
they went through on a one-by-one basis for a lot of cards that they're looking at about unbanning and why they aren't really trying to unban cards. I personally think that unbanning Flash would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
One on like they're printing cards like Valley Floodcaller that are just Flash enablers for everything, whereas Flash is just kind of a quick way to do that, and the creature's not guaranteed to stick around. I think obviously the Flash Protean Hulk combo is the reason that it was a big problem, and I would much rather see Flashback than Protean Hulk, just because I think Flash would enable a lot of cool plays and combos that would not be as deleterious on the format as Protean Hulk.
I
and
think
then Golos.
the reason they got rid of it was not just for the Protean Hulk thing. It was because people were, like, how it interacts on the stack. So basically, like, if all 4 players had a Flash, then whoever Flash Hulked last is going to win the game. So it basically came down to you need a protective win. Then you also have to worry about, does anyone else have Flash Hulk? And if they do have Flash Hulk, then I need to make sure they use their Flash Hulk first before I try to use my Flash Hulk.
Yeah.
And it just led to, like, complex stack resolution, as well as maybe some bad feelings that someone was able to win on top of you.
Which is kind of the current CEDH meta right now. It's just instead
born
of
upon a win.
It's born upon the wind and winning on top of each other, protected wins, the stacks pieces like Voice of Victory from Tarkir or Grand Abolisher, things that make it just so that you can get your play in cleanly. And I don't think unbanning Flash would really change that at all. It would just enable some new ways to go about that.
Right. If they're not afraid of playing on the stack, I could easily see them bring in Flash back. Because like you said, it does bring some interesting stuff to the table.
And really, I think it only meaningfully impacts CEDH in a lot of ways. You're not going to get these crazy stacks trying to win on top of other people's plays at bracket 2 or 3, maybe at a high bracket 4, but that's CEDH behavior at that point. And obviously, I don't think you should unban both Protean Hulk and Flash. I would just do Flash personally.
Well, Protean Hulk has been unbanned.
Is it?
Yes, Protean Hulk is still unbanned. No
shit. Oh, well, put Protean Hulk on there. Fuck Protean Hulk. I hate Protean Hulk.
Hey, don't do that.
I would swap the two. If they were nobody plays Protean Hulk really.
Okay, first off, I have a secret lair Protean Hulk that I put in stuff where I can play Protean Hulk because Protean Hulk's a cool card, and its flavor text is meat and eggs.
I would like Flash to become unbanned. Anyway, the only other one that I would see that I think would be like kind of okay to unban would be Golos. 7 mana activated ability is a lot. It's very powerful. I saw
so many people say Golos, and I was just like, I do not think Golos will see an unban. I think its effect is just too strong for a colorless, like, don't get me wrong, it's all 5 colors, I get that, but at the end of the day, it is a colorless commander, so it's very easy to get all the mana you need to cast it, and then start going crazy with lands.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's very fair. I just never had a chance to play with Golos. The only other one that I would partially like to see unbanned is Hull Breacher, maybe, and I think that is just that one is a whole other reason. Obviously, I think its combination with Wheels just gets out of control way too quickly.
Oh yeah.
But I like the idea of another check for the mid-range hell of Rhystic Studies, of Mystic Remoras, of all of these draw engines that are just constantly triggering. I like the idea of cards that can stifle that in some way.
I think that might have been the original thought process for Hull Breacher, is putting a stop to things like that. However, it quickly turned into
Making a
like
million
the
treasures.
temptation was just too great. Like,
Yeah.
why would I play this card and not play a wheel? And the fact that Notion Thief made it onto the Game Changers list when I haven't seen anyone do anything with Notion Thief in a while. But I think that's because Notion Thief is 2 mana, 2 different colors of mana instead of just 1. And I think that that affects how playable the card is.
I would like to see a different kind of Hull Breacher. I would love for them to print a Hull Breacher like card. Like, if an opponent would draw a card, except for the first one they draw on each of their draw steps, add 1 green mana to your mana pool. Or something like that. So that you can, or just simply say they skip that draw.
Hear me out. It's a white card. We call it Ristic Dummy. Alright? And it's anytime your opponents would draw a card other than the first time they draw a card, they have to pay 1 mana or they don't draw the card.
I would love that. I would love an effect like that. Just risticking their own draws. Yeah. That'd be fantastic.
Do you pay the 1? Do you pay the 1?
Do you pay the 1 bet? I ain't paying shit. You paying it? And in a way, like a card like Smothering Tithe is kind of like this, without stopping the draw. But
right.
I would like Hull Breacher-like effects to be printed a little bit more frequently. Instead of just getting things like Crawling Scrawler that are just pinging you for 1 every time you draw a card. That's not really a meaningful detriment to card draw engines. All right. Moving on. Spider-Man. Marvel.
Spider-Man.
They're fucking everything up. They're fucking everything up for us. And I think they kind of caught Wizards with their pants down a little bit, in a manner of speaking. Through the Omenpaths and Digital Universes Beyond updates, an announcement made a little less than a week ago, as of the recording of this podcast. Every time we see a release of a Universes Beyond set, Wizards gets a similar question. Is it going to be on Magic the Gathering Arena and Magic Online? We've typically handled this on a set-by-set basis with an answer that has either fully been yes or demonstrably no. We'd love for the answer to always be yes, but sometimes things just don't work out that way. Then they made the fucky decision to make them standard legal, meaning they had to have parity on Magic Online and Magic Arenas. And so, with the second Universes Beyond set in the new 50-50 Universes Beyond world we live in, the second one will not be released on Magic the Gathering Arenas or Magic Online. It will instead be getting a Through the Omenpaths set. It is going to be mirroring the Universes Beyond Spider-Man set in 2025, meaning it will be a completely mechanically similar set with different art and different names, with the exception of some reprint cards. But new art and new names for all of the unique Universes Beyond cards that are exclusive to Magic Arenas and Magic Online, thus splitting the metagames. Now, mechanically, the metagames will be exactly the same. You're going to have the same cards, the same card types. I made a joke earlier in the show about the vigilante arachnid heroine or something. Woman. I don't even know what it... Yeah, the vigilante arachnid woman.
Yeah,
who would be a version of Spider-Man in this set, in this sense. But you will be getting the same type lines, so we're going to be seeing human spider. We're going to be seeing villain. We're going to be seeing all of those things, which raises a big question.
The big question. Let's hear it.
The big question. If you're going to put through the effort to make this entirely separate special set just for Magic Arenas and Magic Online, Why are we making the Universes Beyond set?
Ooh.
Is it going to be selling so much to offset the cost of an entire separate suite of art? An entire separate suite of names? They're going to have to completely... They're basically redoing the set again.
Yeah.
For a different format. And it seems... They must see it as, well, we're going to sell a lot.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be worth it to double up on the set.
Tinfoil hat theory.
Mm-hmm.
Marvel's Snap was probably like, let's not do an online phone type deal. That's kind of Snap's thing, and I bet they felt like they would start eating some of Snap's lunch, which
absolutely.
Marvel is kind of like, look, you're renting this IP from us. Snap is our thing. So let's just keep from competing there, but you can release a real version.
I wonder if this is going to end up being something that's exclusive to Marvel, the Marvel sets specifically, because of something like Snap. Like, obviously, if they somehow managed to get, like, which I don't think they could ever feasibly do, but if they got like a Pokemon set, I feel like you would get a Through the Omenpaths version of like a Pokemon set because of the TCG.
But I don't see them ever letting go of that IP when they have their own. Like, of the big three card games, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, I don't see any of them intermingling in any kind of way. Because they're like, why would we lend you this IP? We're doing just fine with it.
Yeah. I could see Disney.
Oh, yeah. If Lorcana starts to fail, I could easily see them just cutting ties with that and letting Magic use the IP.
Absolutely.
Especially if their relationship with Marvel goes well.
Mm-hmm. And I think Marvel is the precursor to that in a lot of ways. The Marvel set, being owned by Disney, it's really opened the door to that possibility. Because surely they're going to want Marvel Lorcana cards, which also might be another avenue, another reason for this happening in the first place. I like to imagine that it's going to be exclusive for these Marvel Universes Beyond sets. God only knows.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of information to go off of right now. We only have just the very basics. We're going to be getting more information about this when we get closer to the September 23rd release date for the Marvel Spider-Man set. See what the name of the Through the Omenpaths version is, what some of those cards might look like. But
right, I was about to say, do you think they'll keep it, like, when they say universes within, do you think we'll be seeing universes we've been to before, or are they going to go to new universes, maybe like testing the waters with how those are received, and then maybe we'll get a rollout of a real universe in paper if the Through the Omenpaths universe does good? Or will we see like Dominaria, Ravnica, Zendikar, Innistrad?
I have a feeling they're going to make one-off planes, just
right,
because they're like, people are already pissed off at like Murders of Karlov Manor for making everyone on Ravnica a detective all of a sudden, or like Ether Drift for turning everyone into fucking drag racers, you know?
Yeah.
So I could totally see them just being like, no, we're gonna just make this like one-off little window into this like mirrored plane of existence to the Spider-Man universe, you know?
Yeah.
I'm very fat because Spider-Man's got some fucking iconic characters, and like, while mechanically we're probably going to be fine because you really only get like the thematic naming of abilities in like Secret Lair exclusive cards. Like, I'm thinking about the Marvel Secret Lair and like how they have like cheeky names in the text box, because they're not really going to be changing the text boxes of these cards,
right?
So I imagine we're not going to get something like web shooters ... and then explaining what that ability means.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with them doing it as an online exclusive release, it gives them that ability that they already have with like alchemy cards to edit on the fly. Yeah. So if something comes up that's a bit of an issue, they can always just go in and edit it. Whereas an errata is so much harder to do in paper.
No, absolutely. I'm interested to see what names they come up with, what the specifics of how they go about doing this. I think this is not good. I think it's a problem. And I think it's entirely a problem of their own making, and they chose to go down this path, and now here we are.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to make it a lot harder for people that get into Magic because of Spider-Man, hear that about Magic Arenas, and then try and find their Spider-Man cards, and then they get this bullshit. It might turn them off from arenas entirely, but who knows? Maybe if you put codes in the packs, they'll stay anyway.
Codes in the packs.
You have no idea how much. Like, I would be playing so much more Magic Arena than I do right now. I basically don't play Magic Arena. I would be playing so much more Magic Arena if I just got codes in the packs and was able to redeem them and actually play with the cards that I'm getting in paper.
In every pack. Not just some.
Not a bundle that has a code for 3 packs.
Yeah.
I want, like, you...
It just feels greedy. It feels extra greedy to be like, I see you just bought this pack in paper. Maybe you go over to our online platform and you spend real currency to buy our in-game currency, which you then use to buy this fake pack that you can never turn into a real card.
Absolutely. I hate it. I fucking hate it, dude. I hate it so much. Because, like, I had Pokemon. I bought Pokemon cards because I like when Pokemon, what was it, Evolutions, where they, like, reprinted a bunch of the old, like, 1990s base set cards and, like, gave new treatments to stuff. I was opening that just for fun. Like, there was a cool deal at Walmart for one of them, so I got one of, like, the big display boxes they had. Mm-hmm. Every single one of those packs had a code card. Every single one. It's not hard, it's not expensive, and it would only help a Magic Arena.
It literally just comes down to money. They just want to make more money. And
they know that you'll buy more. Yeah.
Money.
Yeah, they know that. But at the same time, would you not logic out that if you love Magic Arena and you play a lot on Magic Arena and you buy a lot of packs on Magic Arena, wouldn't they just be moving those? Either that person continues to do that, or they move that person to paper, and then they just sell the actual Magic packs, which cost more than the digital versions.
Exactly.
Like,
but
the revenue goes up if you buy the physical packs, and if you're taking the physical packs, you're giving them codes, you're driving people to arenas. You know some arena exclusive stuff that you can charge for, that they do charge for? The fucking battle pass that they have. The mastery pass. You got to pay for that every single time. The play-in tickets for the tournament, you got to pay for it. Like, if you drive people to the platform by giving them the cards to play with, for one, people are going to get more invested in the game, more invested in strategies, more invested in formats outside fucking Commander. And you're going to drive them to a platform where you can get them to pay for things that don't exist in a paper format to begin with. In addition to just driving goodwill for people, God forbid.
Yeah. I think it comes down to if Wizards was still, like, self-owned before they were bought out by Hasbro. I feel if Wizards was still self-owned, they would do that in a heartbeat, because I feel like Wizards really took into account the goodwill and just good nature of their players, and would look at it like that as well, where it's like, okay, well, it might not make the most maximum amount of profit, but it would, in the end, even everything out, because just as you said, if every time you bought a pack, you basically bought a pack twice because you got your paper pack and you would get your arena pack, that would incentivize people to buy packs. And if people are buying packs and playing arena, then that increases their likelihood to play standard, historic, pioneer, arena, these things on your game, that would then, maybe they would start buying like gems or coins or whatever it is you're wanting them to buy, because they're spending more time on it. So they would buy sleeves, they would buy the little characters that do the little dance and the thing, It's where you spend your time is where you're going to spend your money.
Absolutely. Exactly. Where you spend your time is where you spend your money. And even if they didn't want to go a 1-for-1 pack thing, if the packs had a code for like gold or gems, that if you bought like the equivalent of a pack on arenas was like 2 packs in real life, or like 1.5 packs or 2.5 or something like that, something to create some sort of drive from paper to digital, especially now with the stagnation that arena is having.
Yep.
Like they grew 1% in a quarter where paper grew 37. Like people are moving away from arenas because of the pricing and they're getting competition now from Marvel Snap. They're getting competition from the Pokemon TCG app. Like there's a million different things that are competing for people's attention, and anything you can do to get people's attention on your app is only going to benefit arena.
Right. I would really like to see, like, I know it's not possible probably, but I would really like to see the amount of people that play Spell Table versus arena. Like, if there was a way to get the numbers for that, that would probably be very telling as well, because Spell Table, it's your paper cards.
Yeah.
Like, the investment is so minimal. A webcam, not even a webcam, sometimes just
Everybody's
an
got
app
a
so you
fucking
can use your
webcam.
phone. You know, and you're off to the races because you already have all the physical cards you need to play Spell Table.
If you download the free application OBS, Open Broadcaster Software, you can just use like the Moxfield playtest feature as your webcam for Spell Table. Like you could literally do it entirely free if you wanted to, not even buying any cards at all, and it's fully supported. Like, I want to make a whole fucking video about this. It's
a thing. It's a thing.
It gets my piss boiling.
Yeah.
It
could easily see that.
It curdles my bloodstream. Anyway,
really chaps my ass.
It chaps my ass, man. It gives me that monkey butt, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't want that monkey butt.
No.
Oh god. All right, moving on. We're moving on. Last item. We got a short little wrap-up item. A new Chaos Vault secret lair was announced. Adventures of the Little Witch. It is a 4-card secret lair. It's got some very cutesy art that I think any fan of like a Studio Ghibli style aesthetic would be a big fan of. It is the instant Realms Uncharted, the legendary artifact vehicle Essica's Chariot, the enchantment Serenity, and the sorcery Secret Rendezvous. The problem with this particular secret lair is a new pricing structure that we have not yet seen. For the non-foil version, it is the regular price of $29.99 that secret lairs are. A 4-card secret lair for $29.99, not super great. The total value on these cards is not remotely close to that in foil or non-foil. But the foil pricing, $59.99, an entire doubling of the price for the foil version of these cards, is abhorrent. I would argue highway robbery. Obviously, your personal taste notwithstanding, if you play with these cards already and you want nice versions of them, if they go in a theme, whatever, feel free. But $60 for the foil version versus $30 for the non-foil version for 4 cards that are fine.
Like, putting it bluntly,
you're not getting any meaningful value here in reprint value.
I think the only thing that's even worth a little something is Essica's Chariot.
Yeah, I think Essica's Chariot and
which just, I know it's probably been answered
that's
before,
like the only one.
But does the artist get to pick the cards, or does Wizards pick the cards for them?
I want to say it's a little bit of both, and I think finding some of these artists and like getting an interview and like talking to them about it would be really, really cool.
Yeah.
If I had a way to reach out to artists, I would happily do that to try and find out these kinds of information. But I feel like if that was possible, bigger creators would have already been doing that.
I feel like, hey, maybe that's uncharted ground we should look into.
Anyway, don't buy the Secret Lair. You and your puns. I hate it. I love it. Don't ever change. That said, I would recommend not getting the Secret Lair in particular, if you can avoid it. And hopefully that'll send the message that we're not okay with that pricing structure.
Yep.
People keep buying them, though.
They do.
Yeah. It's interesting that if you go to the Secret Lair website, one of the Japanese Hatsune Mikus is still available, even though it's been out for like a hot minute. It's weird. Yeah, neither of the Adventures of the Little Witch Secret Lairs are even low stock yet. And I mean, there's a ton of Secret Lairs that, even though they're now on a limited print run distribution format, they're still not selling out of certain ones. They're only selling out of like the big ones that people give a shit about. So
Right. Where do you sit on the everyone's invited Secret Lair Commander deck? Where it is not out yet, but it is being hinted at.
I think it's been a while since we've had Heads I Win, Tails You Lose, which I think was arguably the last good one in terms of the full commander decks. I'm more okay with them. You're paying like what, $120 for 100 cards.
Yeah,
I'm a bit more okay with that than 30 for 4. Personally,
sure.
Just on pure card to price ratio. What I'm more concerned about is the playability of the deck. I think the Cats and Dogs one was fine. I think Heads I Win, Tails You Lose was by far the best one.
Oh yeah, that deck was super powerful. I played against it like multiple times, and every time it always pops off.
Yeah, and it's fun. The 20 Ways to Win, I think, was garbage trash with like no real play pattern
Also,
that
wasn't
made
that
sense.
rollout terrible?
Absolutely terrible. I don't know. Don't pay for expensive Secret Lair. I'm a huge Lord of the Rings set fan. Loved that set. And then they released the Secret Lair that had the gorgeous art from the 70s, 80s movie.
Oh man.
And
They
it was
picked
the
some
shittiest
stinker
card.
cards.
The total value of cards was like $3 or less.
Yeah.
And the bonus card, I don't know if you ever saw this, the bonus card for that Secret Lair was a fucking 40-cent draft uncommon legend, Grima Wormtongue.
Oh my.
It was a slap in the fucking face.
It really was. They were I think at that point they were just trying to see what they could get away with.
Literally. Like, it would not have been hard to make a Lord of the Rings Secret Lair with the art from the old movie and sell gangbusters if you just put in like the barest of minimum effort into card selection from the set.
They just wanted at least $10 worth of value. At least.
Like, I would have gotten it if it had one card that was viable for something. Like, straight up. You know? You put in Aragorn the Uniter in there. I'm getting it regardless of what the other cards are. You put in Saruman. There's a million characters that you could have put in this fucking thing.
Right.
They had Gandalf. They could have picked a better Gandalf. Like,
they picked the worst Gandalf. They were like, hey, you know what? People are gonna really, really like this Gandalf.
If they did Gandalf the White or Gandalf the Gray, like that, it would have completely changed the tenor around that Secret Lair entirely. I'm just never gonna get over that. Frankly, I'm never gonna get over that. That said, that is all we have for this, the Lord's 91st episode of the Duels of Man and Dorks podcast. We are lumbering towards 100 episodes, which is fucking ludicrous stuff. Wyatt, it's been a joy. I'm sorry it was so
a pleasure
difficult
as always, good sir.
So sorry it was so difficult to get this put together in a reasonable
we're
time.
still figuring this out. We're
still
working out
figuring
the
it out.
kinks.
You know, we're in a tumultuous time
Yeah.
right now. Once we get to the summer, once we get into June, my schedule is going to get a lot better, just because all of our practices go to the morning.
Good.
So.
I was going to say, I thought swimmers met early in the day. That's what I remember the complaint.
We've got a lot of morning practices, but we have to have a lot of afternoon practices because school is a thing.
Man.
You know?
Education.
Fuck education, you know? Just get out of here. I got some kids that need to train. You know what I'm saying?
They got to swim, damn it.
I need to push their limits. Anyway.
Get me more pictures of kids swimming.
Ooh, not that one. Not that one. Not that one. We don't say that one.
Nope.
We don't say that one. No. And I would like to announce that we are canceling the Duels and Manadors.
No, that's not what I meant. It was a
the
joke
last
about J.
episode.
Jonah Jameson. Spider-Man. I was tying the whole thing together.
Next time, tie it to something that can't be misconstrued. Anyway, that is all the time we have for this, the Lord 91st episode of the Duels and Manadors podcast. We'll be back again for episode 92. Wyatt, do you have anything you would like to say to the good people at home before we depart these lands to return in the future?
Hey, just be good to each other out there, all right? Just keep on keeping on. Life's a garden, dig it?
Anyway, thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, do all the things. Check out the Patreon, $5 a month, early ad-free access to the podcast. Usually earlier than what it's going to be for this one. Sorry again, Brandon. That's on me. That's on me.
Yeah.
With all that being said, we love you very much. And as always,
Auf Wiedersehen.